Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham Ali Khan. Last video I have explained you about the meaning of the term merchant bank and what are the functions of merchant bank. 4 functions I have explained in the last video. First of all, I explained that merchant bank is a bank which help the business organizations in raising the required funds. Either directly they will raise the funds or indirectly. But apart from that, the merchant bank will give number of services to corporate clients. Advisory services, consultancy services, these are all the services which are provided. We cannot give a specific definition that a merchant bank will offer so and so. Innumerable services they provide. So now functions. In the last video I have explained you 4 functions of merchant bank. The first function, issue management. The merchant banks will help the issue of securities by the companies. Secondly, foreign currency finance. How to obtain the loans or fund from a foreign country. Nowadays, the capital will flow freely from one country to another country. A company can raise the funds either internally or internationally. So these merchant banks will help in procuring the funds internationally in foreign currency finance. Third one, syndication. Syndication means grouping. A number of banks will come together to finance a large project. Similarly, last one I have explained about underwriting. Merchant banks will also act as underwriters. They will give the assurance to the company that if the public does not subscribe the shares, we will subscribe it so that the company will not fail in IPO. So all these 4 functions I have explained in the last video, and in this video I am continuing the discussion of other functions of merchant banks. So before starting explanation of other functions of merchant banks, take the screenshot of the points which I have written on the board, then I'll explain all the remaining functions performed by merchant banks. Now, fifth function. 4 functions already we have explained. I have explained in the last video. Now, fifth function of merchant bank is brokerage. That means the merchant bank will act as a broker, not only for the issuer company, but also for the investors. It acts as a broker. So how, just like fundraising helps issuer company raises the required funds, merchant bankers create liquidity for investors by providing brokerage services. So that means the merchant bank is not only providing the service to the companies, issuer companies, but also this merchant bank is providing the services to the investors. In liquidity, liquidity means converting the investment into cash or cash into investment. That means the people who are having the investment, they want to liquidate. They want to sell away the investment. Then the merchant bank themselves will buy, or the merchant bank will find the genuine buyer who wants to buy the investments. So in this way, if a genuine prospective buyer is there, he wants to buy the securities, these merchant bankers will help the investors, prospective investors, in purchasing the securities either from outside or they themselves will sell the security. Like this, they are acting as a broker, helping the investors either in liquidating their investment or purchasing the new securities. That is all about brokerage. Next one is due diligence. Due diligence is one of the important function of merchant banks. One of the specialized areas of operation of merchant bank is due diligence. What do you mean by due diligence? This is also termed as pre-investment study. Before making the investment, an organization or prospective investor wants to make the study. Because investment is that activity where we have to commit the money now, but we'll get the returns in future. and future is completely uncertain. We don't know what will happen in the future. We are not sure about the future, but we have to make the projections. We have to make the estimates. So we have to make a study. The pre-investment study is nothing but due diligence. So merchant bankers help clients wanting to make huge investment by doing a detailed feasibility study. Any investor who wants to make a huge investments, so without study, without conducting a research, an investor will not make a huge investment. They have to conduct a number of studies. So definitely they will take the help of professionals, and these merchant bankers are the professionals in making pre-investment study, due diligence, and by looking at various assumptions very critically. So every assumption will be critically evaluated. That is a due diligence service which is given by merchant banks to the clients. It includes environmental factors, regulatory restrictions. Environmental factors that should also be considered before making the investment. Regulatory restrictions. The investment, the complete economy will be controlled by the government. So restrictions will be imposed by the government. So that restriction should be considered. And fast supply of raw material, critical evaluation of demand projection, risk factors. All these are called pre-investment study. So these merchant bankers will conduct all these studies and help the client who wants to make a huge investment in the business. So this is another function. So first I have explained you about brokerage. Secondly, due diligence. Next one is mergers and acquisitions. Throughout the world, this phenomena is going on. Mergers and acquisition. Mergers means when two or more firms combined together. That is called merger. Acquisition, one company is taking over another company. These combinations, marriages between companies are called mergers and acquisition. This is a method of inorganic growth. So normally a company will grow from its own decisions, from its own activities. But sometimes the company will find the growth by mergers also. One company is merged with another company, then there is a growth for both the companies. Both the companies, synergical effect will arise. 2 plus 2 is not equal to 4, it will be equal to 5. Synergical effect will give more growth. So nowadays throughout the world, companies are merging with one another, acquiring one company with another company. So organization look for inorganic growth by going for mergers, takeovers or acquisitions. All these are synonymous terms. Technically it is different, but meaning that two or more companies are joining together. Such a move has a huge impact on the organization and also create problems due to mismatch. We should not think that mergers will always be beneficial. Sometimes if there is a mismatch between the two companies, then instead of growth, both the companies will collapse due to mismatch of the merger. So merchant bankers are specialized professional people who can evaluate the merging proposition, whether it will be beneficial for the companies or not. Now valuation is critical. Whenever there is a merger proposal, valuation is very important. We have to value. For example, ABC company wants to acquire XYZ company. Then ABC company, purchasing company, XYZ company is the vendor company. When ABC company is purchasing XYZ company, it has to pay the amount. That is called purchase consideration. And purchase consideration will be calculated by valuing the vendor company. By calculating what is the value of the selling company. And that valuation is very critical. These merchant bankers can easily calculate the value of the vendor company. Merchant bank play a huge role in identifying the companies, ascertaining technical and financial viability, negotiating with the management, doing fair valuation and executing the strategy. These wordings make it clear that merchant banks play a very important role in mergers and acquisitions. It will find out the value, fair value, how much growth is expected after merger, and what are the negotiating terms, what is the law, what are the legal rules to be complied with. All these things will be taken care of by the merchant banker. As professionals, merchant bankers safeguard the interest of shareholders in both the organization involved. See here, when two companies are merging together, it should not be like that one company is gaining, the other company is losing. The proposition should be win-win case. That means the growth, the benefit should accrue to both the organizations. There is a lot of regulatory compliance which is taken care of by the merchant banker. Whenever there is a merger or acquisition or takeover, the law has given elaborate provisions. The Companies Act, SEBI, etc. All the regulatory bodies have given a number of provisions to be complied with whenever there is a merger or acquisition. And merchant banker will take care of all the compliances of the law whenever there is a merger or acquisition. Next one is consultancy or advisory services. Another function which merchant banker will offer is the consultancy service or advisory service. Merchant banks provide advisory service to corporates in respect of corporate restructuring, mergers and acquisitions. Corporate restructuring. Many a times the balance sheet of the company will not show the true position, financial position. It has to be restructured. Restructured in the sense that the value of the shares may be changed, or fictitious assets should be eliminated, internal reconstruction should be made. So in these cases also, the merchant bankers will help the companies, corporate clients, in order to restructure their companies, and also mergers and acquisition. Merchant bank act as trusted party against which ideas can be discussed by corporates, because it is the position of a trust. So merchant bankers just act as a trustee, helping the corporate clients regarding what is beneficial for them. So this is another function called consultancy and advisory. The next function of merchant bank is project counseling. A project is any human undertaking which has a beginning and end, and every project requires a number of resources and time. If the project is successful, then definitely there will be growth, there will be profit, etc. Nowadays, projects are undertaken on a huge basis, large scale basis. So without planning, without pre-planned activity, no business can take up the project. The project counseling also the function of the merchant banker. They will counsel the client regarding the project. The project counseling deals with factors that are essential in selection and implementation of project to be taken up by the business. A business is confronted with a new proposal, new project. But business is hesitant that shall we take up the project or not. In that case, the client, the corporate client, can take the help of merchant banker and explain that we are planning to start this project. What is the feasibility of this project? Then as the merchant banks are the professionals, they will do number of studies regarding financial feasibility, financial viability, technical feasibility. A number of studies are conducted regarding the project. And finally, project report will be given by the merchant banker to the client, corporate client. On the basis of that report, the corporate client can take the decision whether to take up the project or not. So here, a merchant bank may counsel the corporates on technical feasibility of the project, whether the project is technically feasible or not. That is the first thing. Second, financial viability. How the finance can be procured, how the finance can be effectively utilized to make the project successful. Then preparation of project report. The end of the project study is the project report. So making the project report and giving it to the client. Thirdly, tying up of finances. Once the project is decided, then the merchant banker has to tie up with the supplier of funds. Next one, obtaining required approvals. Nowadays, a number of permissions, licenses, approvals of the government is required. So merchant banker will take care of getting all the approvals and sanctions. Then possible collaboration with other domestic or foreign players. If there is a collaboration required domestically or internationally, that collaboration should also be taken up by this merchant bank. And lastly, any other aspect on which the client organization needs expert advice. Apart from this, any other aspect on which the client required the expert advice, then this expert advice regarding the project will be given by the merchant bank to the client. So this is the 9th function of merchant bank. Now 10th function is portfolio management. See here, portfolio is a basket of securities. A group of securities is called portfolio. No investor will invest all his money in one avenue, in one stock. That means it is not better to put all eggs in one basket. If something goes wrong, all the eggs will get destroyed. So the prudent thing for the investor is to spread his investment. So when an investor invests the money in stock, invest the money in debentures, bonds, government securities, like this, if he spread the money in different avenues, that is called portfolio, a basket of security. Why the investor will spread his money on different securities? In order to reduce the risk and in order to increase the reward. Getting higher returns and at a lower risk, that is the objective of the investor. And this objective will be achieved by making a portfolio, a basket of security. But it's not easy to make the portfolio, which will give the objective. Then this merchant bankers will help the investors in making a good portfolio. So portfolio is a collection of stock, bonds and other financial security. Normally investors prefer to invest their funds in different security to minimize the risk and to get a higher return. So normally every investor wants to minimize the risk and maximize the return. For that purpose, his portfolio has to be made. So merchant bankers have separate portfolio management division that offers portfolio management services to the clients. So what the merchant bankers are doing, they are keeping a separate department called portfolio management division. In this portfolio management division, they will make all the services called portfolio management services, PMS. Now, portfolio management service to the client. They help investors in managing their portfolio by watching the development in the market, such as change in the government. So these merchant bankers will help the investors in making the projections, expectation, which security will be good, where the investments are safe, where the investment we can get the higher return. So as they are professional people, they will get the data from different sources, and that information they can pass it on to the clients so that clients can make good judgment regarding how to make the portfolio. They will make the projections regarding change in government policy, macroeconomic indicators such as inflation, interest rates, etc. All these analysis the merchant banker will make regarding the policy of the government, regarding the macroeconomic factors just like inflation rate, interest rate, etc. By considering all this, they can help the investors in making a good portfolio. And typically in a PMS, portfolio management services, the client hands over the money to merchant banker who takes care of all the procedural aspect of buying or selling different types of securities, settlement of trade, collection of dividend, interest, etc. See here, the merchant banker is doing all the activities. An investor will come and hand over his money to the merchant banker, asking him, I want a good rate of return on my investment. Now as a trustee, the merchant banker has to find out how he can best give the service to the clients by making an appropriate portfolio, then settlement of the trades, then collecting the dividend, collecting the interest, all these services are provided by the merchant banker to the clients regarding portfolio. Next one is lease financing. Lease financing deals with process wherein the owner of an asset gives to another person the right to use that asset on payment of periodical amount. Actually, it is one of the form of financing, lease financing, where the owner of an asset is giving the asset to another person for use in return for a periodical amount. For example, I am the owner of a vehicle. So I am the owner, I can use it, but I am giving my vehicle to you for usage. So you are using my vehicle and in return you have to pay periodical lease amount. The owner of the asset is called the lessor and the person who is using the asset is called the lessee. The lessee will make use the asset and pay periodical amount to the owner, that is lessor. So before taking the asset on lease, a number of evaluation has to be made. What is the lease payment? What is the duration? What are the procedure, rules and regulations, agreement? All these things will be taken over by the merchant banker. So if I'm having a business, I want to take on lease a vehicle or anything like that, I will consult my merchant banker. They will advise that by taking this on lease, how my cash flow will get affected. How much lease rent should I pay? So evaluation of lease agreement will be done by the merchant banker. So the owner of the asset is called the lessor and the person who takes the asset is called the lessee. Merchant banks assist their clients by evaluating the financial viability of the lease. So when the client approaches merchant banker, the merchant banker will help the client, assist the client to evaluate the lease proposal, whether lease proposal will be beneficial or not to the client, advising the most appropriate rental structure, suggesting the right procedure to be adopted for acquiring on lease. So all these advices regarding lease will be given by the merchant banker regarding the lease rental structure and other procedure to be adopted in lease. So last function, 12th function I am explaining now. Actually so many functions apart from this. Only 12 functions I have selected. You have to remember these 12. Easily you can write in examination. Can get good marks. Now venture financing. So one of the major functions of merchant bank is to provide venture capital to projects which involve high risk and ability to get high return. Normally there is a direct relationship between risk and return. Higher the risk, higher will be the return. So there are some projects which are risky projects. Everyone will not take up those projects because risk is more. But when risk is more, definitely return will also be more. So in this venture capital also, the merchant banker will come forward and contribute in venture capital. A merchant bank may either help the client in obtaining venture capital funding or it may in its own provide venture capital funds if it finds the idea viable. So two ways are there. In first case, the merchant banker will help the venture capital to procure the funds from other sources. And secondly, the merchant banker itself will provide the funds for venture capital. In this way, the merchant banker will help for venture financing also. So totally 12 functions I have explained on this merchant banking. Very often in examination, question will be asked regarding what is merchant banking and what are the functions of merchant banking. These two videos will be more than enough. So watch the video not once, twice, thrice to get the complete command. And definitely you will get a lot of confidence in writing the question in examination. Inshallah, we'll take up the next topic in the subject of financial institutions and markets in the next video.